Welcome everyone. In this session, I'm going to talk about how to install Nginx reverse proxy, build it from source, and also install the Shibboleth plugin to work with Nginx. So I want to run a reverse proxy that allows me to authenticate against my organization for single sign-on and MFA. We have MFA enabled, multi-factor authentication to add a little bit security. I have a Guacamole server that I'll be redirecting traffic from Nginx to be able to access this Guacamole server uh, and be able to remote into different machines at different locations, giving users access to the various assets. Why am I doing this? Well, I want to only expose one port to the web. Well, I will have actually locked down the public IP space as well, who can actually access what IPs. But the idea is basically reduce the attack vector, so to speaking, right? So Nginx will act as a sort of like a gate, and then it will direct traffic to different systems behind the firewall, behind the network, and those systems will only respond to the front end Nginx that's running. So that's the purpose. It did take me a while to figure this whole stuff out because I've never done a compile on Linux from source. I always had done installs, packages, and whatnot using apt-get, yum install, and that's it, right? And doing configuration. So this was the first time I was actually compiling it from source, how to build, how to compile. So this video, if you have never done a build or can configure, if you're stuck somewhere, it might be useful for you. So I'm going to time myself, and I'm probably going to title the my YouTube page how long it takes to install Nginx and Shibboleth and get it working. I will at the end show you guys live working instance, the same setup. So I'm actually installing this on the actual production server that I'll be using. So it has nothing on it right now. So if I do, for example, wget, it's a bare bone server, nothing on it. I kept the image size to the minimum. As you can see, not a whole lot's going on, right? So, and the total image, roughly the VHD file, the virtual file is about 9 or 10 gigs, give or take. So I can easily copy paste to two different servers, different locations, keep backups and whatnot. So reducing the footprint, basically the storage footprint. This is lightweight. Nginx is lightweight. Shibboleth is lightweight in terms of I'm talking about storage, right? So, all right. So let's start the process. There are certain things that you can do after the whole Nginx is up and running, is to improve your SSL configuration. I'll link to these articles as well, and I have actually created a Nginx configuration file that I'll post as well. Probably if YouTube will allow me to. Otherwise, I'll link to a Google Drive page with this document, with this, and also with these instructions. So if you follow the instructions from start to the end, you should be good. You should not have any problems. I'm going to actually follow my instructions, see how long it actually takes from start to finish. So I will try to kind of explain at the same time while we're doing this, what I'm doing, why am I doing it, and try to kind of give you an idea what's actually happening. So it does look a little daunting at the start, right? But it really isn't. So if you were to follow exactly the process, you won't run into any issues. Well, you'll see. Well, I haven't run into any issues. I've streamlined the process quite a bit. Don't run into any errors, nothing. And these are the modules. So Shibboleth, and I'll be installing the headers more plugin as well, or module, to be able to do a little bit more configuration and play around. For example, these are just a basic default configuration on Nginx. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to start the clock when we actually start the first command. The first step, of course, is to download the source file. I will be using 1.22.1. That's the time of at the time of this recording, this session, that was the version available. That's the stable version. I'm not going to use the mainline version. Also, I will have the version that is actually, I'm not sure if they'll release another one or not. It's been 6 years, not a whole lot has been changed. I don't think so. Same thing with the other one. Not much happens over there. But again, let's do the build. Let's see how far we get. So I will do. I will not do the full Nginx compile or build with these modules. I will add these modules at a second stage. I'll first do the compile of Nginx, and then I will do the install of these modules and do the compile, make modules. Why am I doing this? Because you might actually already have a instance running, an Nginx instance running. If it's a compiled package, if it's a build package, you should be good. But if you actually installed it from the stable release, for example, I'm using Debian, so this is Debian 11 Bullseye, and the package that they have available for me to install is actually only 1.18, I believe. If I search for Nginx, it will tell me what live or what version of Nginx actually I can install. So Nginx extra stable full 1.18. So 1.18, if we look at the chart here, that's like about 2 versions behind. So I think they're in development testing stages right now. So again, Debian 11 is the instance, this distro. Nothing on it, nothing, just basic setup with just, so basically installed SSH. That's it. I haven't configured anything. Even IP tables don't exist right now. So I'll be doing that bit later. But this is a process to install Nginx and build those modules. So let's start the timer. Okay, let's clear the screen first. Let's see how long it takes. I'm going to start from the top there, and I'm going to follow all the steps. Well, these are just some additional kind of help files, or like where I got, so the sources, different sources I used. This was a good site to get me going, and of course it didn't work the first time, right? So because you're missing something, and for example, they're talking about do this. This didn't work for me because the modules weren't available on the Debian distro or repositories, so I ended up just doing everything manually, doing everything from binaries and sources. So uh, that's it. Let's start the process, and of course there's this guide as well, which really helped me, which was helpful. I will open that page as well. So how to compile Nginx from source. This is for Debian 10. If you're in Debian 10, please go ahead, use this um, help file. Some commands are from here, some commands are from the other. So it's a hodgepodge basically. So, and of course the different libraries, different requirements, so, and different configuration presets, and that's their setup. It's slightly different than mine. They're using Vim or VI editor versus Nano. I'm using Nano. I'm already logged in as a super user, so I don't even have sudo actually. So if I type sudo, it says, hey, command not found. So that's how bare minimum this instance is. So all right, so let's get started. I'm gonna leave this page on this, and we are going to open my help file, my step-by-step guide. Oh, there was a stutter there. Let's start the timer. First step, make a directory, make any directory wherever you will be downloading all the files, doing the compile, you name it, right? So it could be anywhere in the home drive, or sorry, not home, the home folder, wherever you like it. We're going to create the user and the group, the Nginx user and the group. Yeah, I should stop doing that, huh? These are the required dependencies, PCR, zlib, openlib. This for Debian 11, it will install everything and anything that is required for my version to work. So let's do that. If you're missing a package or a library, when you do the build, you will get prompted for that. So let's get the latest files. So this is from here. So this is the URL. Let's continue to do that. Once that is done, we're going to clear it. We're going to paste. Oh, of course, I don't have wget either, so apt, shoot, apt install wget. Yes. And we're going to download the file. We're going to xyzf nginx. It will have, so we got the folder created. This is the file originally, so we're going to go into the folder. Enter ls and make sure that you have this file, configure file, in there. This is the magical file. So we have done this part. To build, we need to install these. Yes, please. So we're at a 1 or 2 minute mark now, so it doesn't take too super long to kind of configure it. And these are the parameters that I used. It might be different for your needs. Again, in this, you don't see that I'm compiling it with the modules, so it's different from what you'll see. But I will show you. This looks like it's way down there. Wow. Okay. I thought it was just right here. Copy that. We're going to, so Nginx. If I do Nginx T, it says command not found, of course, because it's not installed. We're going to install. We're going to build it. So configure. It says no errors. Everything is good. We're going to do make, and then we're going to do make install. Depending on your drive as well, it could be either slower or faster. Make install. Once everything is good, no error messages, nothing. If I do Nginx T, it will say configuration failed. Nginx V, give me the version number. So we have the version installed. If I try to start it, it won't work because we don't have the service enabled yet. So we have it installed. We're going to create these module symlinks for the folders. So great, because I don't have sudo, of course. I should use this command. Once that is done, we are going to also create a folder for the cache. Otherwise, when you try to run Nginx, so I think I did show you guys Nginx-t that was failing, and now it's successful because it didn't have that. There you go. That folder didn't exist, so now that's gone. That is fixed. The problem is gone. We're going to create the service for Nginx. I'm using Nano Editor. You can use VI if you like, and then we're going to copy and paste. Copy, paste, Control X, and then hit Y to save. Once that is done, we are going to now start Nginx. Start it. We're going to look at the status to see if it's running. Status. There it is. It is working, up and running. If I go to my page here, that is Proxy Connect, it will say, hey, there you go, welcome to Nginx. Let's verify that I am not cheating here. It's stored in Nginx, etc, Nginx, HTML. You look at the structure here, cd HTML. Did I not? There we go, cd HTML, ls, nano index.html. I'm going to say welcome to Nginx fellow channel members. And I'm going to save that. And if I load the page, it says welcome to Nginx fellow channel members. So I just want to show you guys that Nginx is up and running. It's running off an IP. I have a DNS server to mask it, so I don't have to do lots of blurring, which can be a little annoying, to be honest. This is a production system that will be on, so we have it up and running. If you run into any errors, yada yada, Nginx, read that, read the instructions, read the steps, guide. Now we can install Shibboleth. So for Ubuntu, not sorry, for Ubuntu, sorry, for Debian 11, this is all you need. So apt install Shibboleth. And once we have that, to confirm it's up and running, we go shibd-we. So we got Shibboleth 3.2.2. To make sure that your modules will work, fastcgi, you need to run this command to make sure that it installed properly. So yes, so if you get a message like this, you can proceed with the next step. So your Shibboleth is installed, your Nginx is installed. So we're at a 6-minute mark. Now to create some sockets for our Nginx plugins to work with. Let's do that. So 6 minutes approximately to install Nginx and Shibboleth basically. So let's do nano socket, copy paste the code. Make sure that when you copy and paste, these show up as green. And there are no spaces, nothing blocking, or it creates. If it's not green, you got a problem. I had run into that. I wasn't sure what was going on, and there weren't enough line spaces or carriage returns basically. And that's why I was mixing them up. I was becoming one cohesive line, and instead of that nice little green view that you saw. So once you've done that, create these. You can read the article, you can read these steps if you're interested. You can actually read it on the web page that I showed you guys from Stanford. This is where I got these exact instructions. So you can also install what's called supervisor, but I don't like to have anything extra that I don't need for my production system, so I'm doing it bare bone install. For the build, yeah, I probably can just use the file that I've built earlier for the modules, but I'm going to just download and probably just going to clear it. So let's start these and see if they actually, if I did anything wrong. Okay, so it did start. Let's see. Otherwise, you'll get an error message. So status, everything is green. We are good. It's listening. That is listening. Okay. And now, once that is good, once everything is green, you need to enable the service, enable these. So every time your system reboots, they are enabled and working. They're up and running. So once we've done that, if you want to disable it, for example, this is the command. Instead of enable, use just a disable. So let's get the modules down. So these are the modules I showed you guys earlier. That's because I don't have Git. Again, another reason. So at this point, I would have done a snapshot of my VM. And then from there, I would have actually removed Git and not used this process. So I'm going to pause this. I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to pause the timer too. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to do that right now because I don't want to have Git on my system. This is what I'm talking about. So I have this server. I'm going to create a checkpoint and I'm going to say, okay, thank you. I'm going to call it rename. I haven't started the timer yet. I will start it afterwards. Installed Shib and Nginx. Shib and Nginx. So I'll revert back after the recording is done. I'm going to just use the module files that I build in the next stage or next process here. So I can close that. Don't need it. Okay, we're going to start the recording now. The recording's already run. Sorry, we can start the timer now. So let's start the timer. Now that I've done that, so we're going to get the modules. So we need the git command. If I run git, it says, hey, command not found. Apt install git. And yes, I will revert back to this instance and I'm going to use those modules. So and we are going to use git clone. We're going to make sure that we're in the right folder. CD, I believe it was in here, right? CD Nginx. Maybe, oh wait, it was in the, there we go. CD. I guess that'll work. Jeez. So we were in Nginx ls. And we are going to, did I copy that? Copy that. In the same folder, you'll see, okay, I should do this. In this, you'll see the new folders created. So we're going to clone that and then clone the next one. git clone. If I do lsh, you can see these two are folders. I don't know why my putty doesn't show different colors and whatnot. It's all black and white for it. So cd headers, these are the files that it should be there. Nano config. This is what the config files will look like when you download something from Git, or if you when you download these modules from Git. So cd nginx, I'm going to show you guys that too. ls nano config. Initially, I didn't know, I didn't have a clue what I was supposed to do. I was trying to configure using, config. It didn't work. So apparently you need to run the configure file. So you need to run configure and then build the modules this way. If I show you guys what I mean by modules, if you go into the objs folder, that's where it will put the modules. You can see all these different modules that were already compiled when we ran the compiler, right? So, or the build process. We are going to do that now. Let's do so what you need to do is actually run, if you have already an instance of, for example, in my case, we installed Nginx. Let's call it, let's say, a week back, right? And we want to now come back and install the module. We were like, okay, we forgot to install this module, that module. What you need to do is first get the arguments that you use to compile, so configure arguments. Why I'm doing this, because if you don't do this, you'll get exactly this error message that binaries are not compatible, because the configuration you use to compile Nginx is different than what you use now to build these modules. So what I will do is actually just copy this. This is just the other stuff that you'll see now in this step. So let's configure the header module first. So I'm going to copy that. So copy. We have this Nginx dash capital V. It's a capital V. You have the arguments, so I'm going to paste. Oh, geez, of course I did the right click. Damn it. Okay. Copy. Right click does a copy on SSH or PuTTY, I suppose, right? So give it a space. And what you need to do is now, instead of, if you don't want it to copy it to a notepad and all that stuff, what you need to do is, you need to copy from the two dashes. And remember, I compiled with a debug. It helps you guys do debugging later down the road. So I have it enabled. In Nginx config, you can choose to either enable logging or debugging or not. So, and that's it. So what I did was selected that. I was on the line down below, and I just did right click mouse, and then it copied it here. And I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to start compiling or building, and then I guess configuring it. That's probably the technical right terms. And what I'm going to do is call the command make modules. All it's going to do is compile that headers module. So if we go to now objs folder, if I do lash, there you go. So you can see headers image, filter module, headers more. That's the module that we installed. So headers more, it got its .c files, .o files, but this is the file that you need. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably do it after I'm done the session or done the recording. I'm going to copy this module over to a folder, extract it, download it, and then I'm going to basically go back to my virtual machine, use the other snapshot, and use this file. I'm not going to do the git install on my server. I don't want it, right? So if I don't have to, you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't have anything that you don't need on a server that's going to be production server. So for Shibboleth module, same thing. We're going to go back to the other folder. Make sure that you're running this from the main Nginx folder that you have extracted, the source file. So make sure you have configured there. Otherwise, command won't run. So we can do the Shibboleth part now. So again, same thing. We are going to do Nginx-v. I'm going to paste that command, put a space there, and highlight from where I want the file, the command copied over, and right click. And there you go, and hit enter. And then once that is done, make modules. And it's going to create my Shibboleth modules. So if you go back to objs folder, lsh, you'll see Shibboleth modules. So there I have it, this file, and headers more filter file. These are the two I will extract and use. So I don't have to worry about having Git running on it. So, or I can probably remove it. It's simple as that too, but why do things simple, right? When you can do it complicated. Also, remember to do this part. You need to download these files as well. So I will open the page real quick. So these two files need to be, so if you click on them, you have raw, and you can just copy the text from there and paste it into the two files that you create. So I'm going to show you both. So they might change over time. So that's why I don't have all. So you need to do this process at the time that you're doing it, right? So, okay, so we're going to create these two files. Let's do that. Nano. The folder is the etc nginx, and created the file. I had copied it over. I left it in the text anyways, but you should get the content from that site. So this wasn't too much of content to block, but for the other one, I will need to copy it from here. So before I do that, let's create the file. And let's go back to the site. We're gonna copy. You can uncomment these parts. These are commented. You can uncomment whatever you need for your configuration, for your environment, for Shibboleth and whatnot, right? So, and Control X, save. If I open the file again, you can see I copied over just fine. So we have done configuration for the so. Shibboleth is installed, the modules, we need to copy the modules over. I forgot to do that, so let's do that. Copy Nginx, ngx underscore http headers more dot so. We're going to copy that to etc nginx modules. And same thing, copy nginx http underscore shibboleth, I believe. Yeah, shibboleth.so, just that file. So you don't need to copy any other files. Nginx modules. And we're going to load them dynamically. When we say dynamically, let me show you the example that I have created for you guys. This is how you load modules. So this is what you'll need to insert. So let me just do that. We go to our Nginx folder, nano nginx.config. This is the default config. I'm going to just stick it up there and Control X, Nginx T to see the configuration file is okay. We can do the restart and whatnot, but we're not done yet. So we are going to now enable the fast CGI to talk to the sockets. So if you look at this page again, and I have it in my instructions too. Of course, before we do this part, you need to get your SSL installed. So here's the link for, yeah, sure, agree and proceed. How to configure your server to use Let's Encrypt. So they're using Let's Encrypt as an example. Get SSL up and running. And how to secure your, I have this in my configuration file as well. I have it added. One important thing I'd like to point out here is that in the code that I'm providing here, if you notice that I'm doing a return to the HTTPS, to my subdomain, if it's, for example, if they try to access the server using an IP address, they will get sent automatically to the HTTPS. So even if they try, so this is the HTTP 80 port, so that's what it's listening on. So if somebody comes in, types in IP or types in the domain name with HTTP, they will get redirected to the HTTPS, my site. And the SSL block that I've set up is 443. And if same thing, so if they have server coming in from subdomain, server name is this. Make sure you actually put the server name. Don't leave it as localhost. It didn't work for me. It was painful for me to troubleshoot. So I'm saving some time here. Make sure you put the actual domain name or the, so for example, if you're on subdomain.abc.com, right? Make sure you have that. So, but if you don't have a subdomain, you're actually main domain, you'll do this, your domain. So if you have another one, you will do sub one, like you have 4 levels, 3 levels, however levels you have. So make sure you actually have the proper listing. Otherwise, you'll run into error messages where the headers are not passed. and you won't be able to use the Shibboleth fast CGI. This will not work. So we're gonna add this, and I'm going to upload the modified config file. I just want to show you guys what it will look like. We're going to also do this part. It takes a while. Let me tell you, it takes a really long time. Let me show you. And then I'm going to stop it. I'm going to kill it. So don't be afraid. It takes about, I believe, took me about 10-15 minutes. So if I was to start this process, this is going to take a long time, it says, right? So yes, it does take a long time. So it takes about 10 minutes, 15. So don't close it, don't crash. Don't think that, it's not working. It is working. So be patient. I'm going to just cancel that because I will run it later when I have the configuration file up and running. So I'm going to pause this now, and I'm going to fetch all those files, modules, my configuration file, and upload. And also remember that your shibboleth file that you'll need to work with is actually stored in the folder called etc shibboleth. It's called shibboleth2.xml. So let me go over the basic configuration of it. In here, a few things I didn't know. It took me a while to figure this out. That you need to make this plugin work. They have it on the instructions too. They don't really mention where exactly it goes. You need to make sure that you put the request map. If I can see it here, well, I guess it's not here. It's probably down below. This is how you debug. You need to put that code and then define. Let's see, maybe it's on this page. Let's see. Yes, there we go. I think they talk about request here. Scroll down, scroll down. There it is. So request mapper. That's needs to go in your shibboleth file. So I think I have it here as an example. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to, so it needs to go just after the out of process and before the application defaults. And you will place it. Oh, geez, great. Oh, of course I did the right click. Copy, paste. And okay, so the problem that I kept running into was also this. So you notice it says domain.com, but if your configuration says sub.domain.com, that's what you'll need to put in here. And also the folder path names need to match the folders that you need to secure. For example, in our example, it's going to be slash, so it's subdomain.com/secure. That's what we are going to be protecting. So the subdomain is not, so require session. These are required fields, require session, authentication type. Also, there is, you can install, I believe, schema. It's called, I think, schema equal to HTTPS. I might be mistaken here. I meant HTTPS. If I go Control X and save, if I try to systemctl, try to shibd, that's up and running. If I do stop and start, if my configuration is okay, otherwise it will complain. There you go. So it doesn't like the fact that, hey, you know what, failed to start because you screwed up something in the XML file. So I don't think it's schema. I'll have to Google that real quick. If I do this, start, and there it goes, started, right? So request map, shibboleth, Nginx, schema, HTTPS. I think it's scheme. I am just trying to see if it'll have it here. I don't think it has here. Control F, scheme. Let's go back. Let's see, scheme. I think it was actually on the modules page itself. Scheme. Scroll up a bit. Install, configure. No, that's not it. But I will post it in the description what it is. I forget now. What was it called? I think it was called HTTPS. Scheme. Actually, you know what? If they might have linked to not config, shibboleth. Shibboleth request map. Let's do request map. Schema. Let's see if they have an example. Content HTTPS scheme. Maybe I think it's just a require session secure example. Didn't basically what that means. What I'm trying to add here is that instead of responding to HTTP, it will respond to HTTPS. So let's try. Let's just try it. I think it's schema or scheme. Scheme equal to HTTPS. Control X. Let's stop and start. Okay, yeah, it is scheme. So I'm going to actually put that in here. Scheme equal to HTTPS. I think there's also redirect to SSL, which is equal to, so it will be redirect to SSL equal to 443 as well, if you want to respond to or force them to use 443 or SSL. When you got Shibboleth running, when you're actually doing it in a production system, you need to make sure that you actually have SSL running and have proper SSLs. Let's Encrypt is not bad, but I've been told that it's not the best. So again, I'm no expert, so that's it, right? I'm gonna now pause the recording and get my files up there and that I had backed up, and I'm gonna move the module file. One more thing I want to show you in Shibboleth before I wrap this up, and then show you guys the last bit. The application default ID. This is where you will point to your. This is your servers. This is where you're running. So, for example, sub.domain.com, and whatever name identity your company might ask you for this. Hey, give me your entity ID name. Do not change this once you have configured it. And then they will probably provide you with a bunch of things like, what's their SSO entity ID, where to point to, what certificates to download, how to configure it. They might even provide metadata provider type. Like for example, in this case, they're giving an example. So this is where you put the metadata provider. Everything else that you need to input is basically in the application block. So just the request map portion, you need to put it on the block before the application defaults block. Just wanted to say that real quick, and it will save you lots of time. All right, guys, I'm gonna don't modify that. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna pause my timer, and I'm gonna do my SSL. I actually had exported my SSL. Also, one more thing. I don't think I mentioned this in my instruction. I keep forgetting it. When you do the install for Shibboleth, there's a command called keygen. So Shibboleth keygen. You need to run this command. Your provider, your company might ask you for, hey, give us your, um, I guess, keys, the paracords. They might ask you for actually, they will ask you for probably this file, public certificate. So you'll have to probably send it to them, or I don't know, depending on some might actually. So for example, Stanford, right? I think they ask you to do the metadata download and then give them the file and modify stuff. And they will configure it on their instance of Shibboleth or their authentication SSO sign in, and then they'll provide you with a bunch of instructions. So just wanted to point that out. So you will just run this command Shibboleth keygen. So make sure you run this when they ask you for these. So if you do this, you'll get the files created under this folder. So it'll be sp dash, I think it was cert, and sp dash, what was the other file called? Sp dash cert, sp dash key. So it will create these two files. And that's it. So covered Shibboleth, Nginx modules are running. I have the example code here for you guys to use. For example, if you're securing it, this is how you'll remember the sockets that we created in steps. We are going to call those sockets here now. With fast CGI is going to pass parameters to it. So Shib authorizer, and then Shibboleth location, the file, and then you just basically call this request. You just call, hey, let's do this. It's going to ping the socket. It's going to send the headers or grab the headers from there. and then return. So again, I ran into the problem where I was using local host for the server name instead of my proper name, and then it took me about a day to almost figure it out because I had to run it in debug mode and figure out what was happening, why I wasn't passing parameters and whatnot. So that's it. That's all. And then I will pause this, come back once I have my SSL running, my Shibboleth configured for my company, and I'm going to show you guys what actually happens. I just came back to kind of mention the fact that I forgot to enable system CTL enable Nginx service. It wasn't running, so as you can see, it said, hey, not running. So I'm gonna now, I've copied over the files. I'm gonna just do the configuration, copy the config, shibboleth config file, and show you guys what it looks like in a bit. I'm gonna pause it again. All right, just finished copying the files over. I'm gonna start the process. I'm gonna show you guys. Well, it took about 30 minutes to do the install, right? So this is just extra bonus edit stuff. So once I've done all the configuration, I'm gonna hit the play button on the timer. So my site's not loading right now. I will have to blur this. I'm gonna blur this out and blur the address bar too. And I'm gonna reload. So, oh, sorry, my Nginx is not running. And go back. Status, they're dead. I'm gonna start them up. And if all went well, everything is running. And I am going to reload the page. Again, blur time. There you go. Welcome to Nginx, fellow channel members. So my site is now secured. I have to blur this out. Site is secured with SSL. So now blur this area out up top. Certificate is valid. Those are just notes for me, what to blur, when to blur. And if I was to, now I'm going to show you guys the process of how this SSH or Shibboleth authentication works. Blur this out. Secure, if I were to go to secure page, it didn't load. Secure 2 maybe. There you go. So I didn't have secure enabled with authentication, so secure 2. It took me to my organization page, and I will log in here and show you guys what happens. This will be a big blur for you guys probably. I don't want to tell you guys my ID. Of course, the blur at the top right, and it's going to be use multi-factor authentication. It's going to send me. Let's go to my phone. I'm going to put the prompt. Approved it, and it says not found because my configuration for this was a test. I didn't want to show you guys anything else, so don't have anything set up here. If I do secure 2, which is also protected, it will take me back to the main page. If I do something else, it will take me to my Guacamole page. So if I do this, it takes me to my Guacamole server that's up and running that I'll be using. So again, it's also protected, SSL and whatnot. So I will show you guys in the next video how to do the setup for Apache Guacamole. If you like this video, if it worked out for you guys, do post in the comments below. Please do subscribe. Please do hit the like button. Much appreciated. All right, guys, stay safe. Take care.